Yo, guys, welcome back to my first video of 2022, and that sounds like, it feels weird to say, it sounds weird, and yeah, I don't know, it's just crazy. It's 2022. I still remember celebrating New Year's for 2008, which I would have been 6 or 7. I would have been 7. No, I would have been 6, because I was going to be 7 in 2008. Fuck me, that's my first real memory of celebrating a new year. And now we're in 2022, which is 14 years later. Holy shit. So yeah, I would have been 6. But what a weird intro. But yeah, our first video is the history of Canada explained in 10 minutes. I enjoy this sort of history of specific countries sort of videos. They're quite interesting to see. And I have a feeling this is going to involve France and Britain quite a lot, and the US too. But again, we're just going to see. I don't really know. I actually found out recently how Canada's flag is actually quite new. Like, I used to think it was probably like hundreds of years old, but it's not actually that old. Like, the old flag wasn't changed. It was there quite recently, which surprised me. I learned that recently as well. But yeah, I guess we're gonna learn things like that. We're just gonna get into. Hopefully, going to enjoy. Hopefully, you had a good New Year. You're with your family, with your friends, getting drunk, whatever it was, not whatever it is. I was at home being ill with COVID, but it is what it is, man. But yeah, let me know your resolutions. What are your plans for the new year? Trying to be healthy, whatever it is. Just put in the comments what your plans are. But we're going to get into this, man. Hopefully, you're going to enjoy and yeah. Never seen this channel before, by the way.
Canada, known for their delicious maple syrup, and being home to nearly all of the greatest hockey players of all time, is the second largest nation on Earth. And with approximately 2 million lakes, contains...
Holy shit, man. Look at this picture. Can you see that? Yeah, you can. And this one. If this is a completely real picture, it's probably got a few edits and stuff, right? But it looks insane.
Over 50% of the freshwater lakes on the planet. For many thousands of years, this region was populated with many indigenous tribes of hardy people, capable of overcoming the severe and lengthy winters, thriving and developing unique cultures. The first non-native people to settle in Canada, and the New World in general that we know.
Eskimo. All up the sort of the coldest areas are Eskimos. Koyukon, Haida Beaver, Blackfoot. So it's crazy how they all change, but then at the top it's just all the same.
Noah, for sure, were the Vikings. They built a settlement in Newfoundland around 1000 AD. It is unclear for exactly how long this settlement was occupied for, or if there was more.
Look at that.
But ultimately, it was either abandoned, pillaged, or its inhabitants succumbed to disease, or assimilated into the local population. But theories abound. Nearly 500 years later, in 1497, the Italian explorer, Giovanni Capoto, was the first European to explore North America's coast, claiming it for the English crown.
Wait, what?
Was the first European to explore northern. The Italian explorer, Giovanni Capoto, was the first European to explore North America's coast.
What? So you're telling me Christopher Columbus isn't even the first person to find North America? I've been taught a lie, man.
Claiming it for the English crown. Shortly
What the
after,
hell?
the Spanish and the Portuguese would do the same, but remained uncolonized for several decades, with only...
Oh, I guess he colonized it, yeah. But still, that doesn't mean he discovered it. Why is that the whole perception of it, man?
a few seasonal Portuguese and Basque fishing outposts built, until the French arrived. Jacques Cartier claiming the land for France in 1534. He named the gulf and river after St. Lawrence's feast day on which he arrived. The French called the territory around the river Canada, after the native word for settlement. After several failed attempts at permanent settlement succumbed to starvation and disease, the cities of Quebec and Port Royal were successfully established. By 1670, the English colonies in the south had expanded, and new settlements were established in Newfoundland and south of the Hudson Bay. The fur trade, particularly in beaver pelts, became extremely lucrative, as it became the favored material for hat makers and luxury winter clothing in northern Europe. This greatly encouraged further northern settlement by both English and French fur trappers seeking to make a fortune. The French and the English did not peacefully coexist, with the French temporarily taking much of the territory around the Hudson Bay during the lengthy period known as the Beaver
Got
Wars.
beef, huh?
Not only the Europeans became wealthy and influential from the trade in beaver pelts, The Iroquois confederation of 6 powerful tribes, armed with European firearms, initially allied with Dutch merchants, and then the English, to aggressively attack the French, and most other Indian tribes in the region to obtain more furs. Many of these tribes banded together with the French to halt Iroquois expansion.
Shout out to them then, man. Fuck the British in this case.
Peace was negotiated after 72 years of fighting, and many, mostly Indian lives lost. And little territorial change. The region of New France was comprised of several colonies. Canada and Louisiana were the largest, along with the smaller Plaisance and Acadia, which the British Empire obtained from the French in the Treaty of Utrecht in 1713 in a complicated agreement concerning the War of Spanish Succession. France also recognized the legitimacy of the Hudson Bay Company's claim over Rupert's Land. Interestingly, the Hudson Bay Company is still in existence today, primarily as owners of a retail store chain bearing their name.
What?
Despite their larger territory,
that must be one of the longest lasting companies or whatever in existence. What is the... Fuck me, that was a voice crack. What is the longest lasting company in the world? Congo Gummy. Congo Gummy, established in 578 AD, is the oldest continually operating company in the world. Its headquarters are located in Osaka, Japan. This construction company was founded by an immigrant who was commissioned by Prince Shotoku to build the Buddhist temple. Can't say the name. Shiteno? I don't know. Holy shit, man. What's the longest running stock? New York Gaslight. In 1824, New York Gaslight was listed on the New York Stock Exchange, and it holds the record for being the longest listed stock. What? Madness, bro. But that Japanese construction company is ridiculous, though.
The French increasingly became outnumbered by the rapidly growing British colonies surrounding them, by a margin of 10-1 by the time the next major conflict between the two occurred. During the 7 Years' War, or the French and Indian War, as it has become known in much of North America, French-speaking Acadians were deported far from the Canadian borderlands, some of whom formed the basis of much of the Cajun population of modern-day Louisiana and New Orleans. Both English and French empires sent thousands of regular infantry to North America during the war, supported by local militias and Indian tribes. The greatly outnumbered French relied heavily on Indian allies and fought the British to a standstill early in the war, until the British successfully besieged the cities of Quebec and Montreal. Despite the French later defeating the British in a pitched battle, they failed to retake their capital city. In the treaty that ended the war soon after, France ceded Canada to Britain, while giving Louisiana territory to her ally, Spain. It is important to note at this time much of North America's non-coastal areas were still largely unpopulated, with many of the native tribes heavily depleted through warfare and invasive diseases from which they had little immunity. With a population of approximately 3 million, the American colonies waged a successful rebellion against the British Crown. A little over a decade later, the Americans attempted and failed to take Quebec, which remained loyal to Great Britain. After the war, many British loyalists moved north into Canada. During the following War of 1812, both British and American armies launched several failed invasions of each other's territory, ending in military stalemate, and the status quo was maintained. The treaties following the war established a more formalized border between the two nations. Despite the Canadians' desire not to join their American neighbors to the south, movements for self-rule increasingly grew among the Canadian lower and middle classes.
Is that the Hungary flag? That's the Hungary flag, right? Hungary's flag has the same colours, but I can't remember if the order is that. I think it is exactly
Canadian
that.
in the rebellions of
Unless it's red and then green at the bottom. Red at the top, green at the bottom.
1837 and 38 that were severely dealt with and crushed, and saw the short-lived Republic of Canada established by William Lloyd Mackenzie. Despite the Republic's short-lived lifespan and diminutive size, widespread public support, not only from many Canadians, both French and English-speaking, but also from Americans to the south, spurred Great Britain's government to make major concessions in the rebellion's aftermath. The Act of Union in 1840 united Upper and Lower Canada into the new province of Canada, and the granting of responsible government soon after allowed for a far greater degree of self-rule to be exercised by the elected representatives of the people. In 1846, the disputed Oregon Territory was peaceably divided between Great Britain and the United States, pretty much by drawing a straight line and giving Vancouver Island to Canada. Throughout the 19th century,
we learned about the island, about, was it oversimplified recently, how they were fighting over the smallest little islands. Was it Britain and the US, man? It's so funny.
A massive boom in the logging industry fueled large waves of immigration to Canada, gradually replacing the fur trade as Canada's most lucrative industry. In 1867, the British North America Act, or more commonly called the Constitution Act today, established Canada as a self-governing democracy with Ottawa as its capital city. To the west, the Hudson's Bay Company negotiated the sale of Rupert's Land to the newly formed Canadian government. The Métis people, of mixed European, primarily French, and Indian ancestry, were the largest population of the Winnipeg area of what is now Manitoba. Fearing the land they had held for generations would be seized by newcomers from the east, they rose in rebellion, creating a provisional government. And after a tense standoff, and eventual occupation by federal troops, many of their demands were met, respecting their rights. The leader of the rebellion, Louis Riel, would lead another larger but less successful rebellion 15 years later that ended with his trial and execution. Louis Riel became a martyr, or villain to many Canadians, his death increasing the tensions between Indian Métis, English, and French groups in society. Because of the key role the partially completed Transcontinental Railway played in the suppression of the rebellion, political support for completing it soared among English-speaking Canadians, and the railroad was completed in only 4 years from when it had begun.
Wow. Holy shit! So from here and here, it was completed in 4 years. This is a deceiving distance, because you look at this picture and you don't think it's a lot. That's a load. That's probably like Britain times 3. It's got to be a few thousand miles, right?
1890 saw
maybe not. I don't know, but it's a lot.
The Klondike Gold Rush, in which over 100,000 prospectors set out to the remote Yukon region in hopes of striking it rich. Some did, but most didn't. After several decades of stagnant population growth, largely due to emigration to the United States, Canada's population sharply increased due to a good economy and high foreign immigration throughout the early 20th century. During the First World War, Canada, still a dominion of the United Kingdom, sent 620,000 troops to fight in Europe. 67,000 would die.
Didn't know that.
While another 173,000 would be
How many passed away?
67,000 would die.
Shit, man.
While another 173,000 would be wounded. The staggering casualty rate grieved and shocked the nation. The war had a strong impact on Canadian nationalism and the desire to self-govern its own international affairs, which they obtained when the British Parliament passed the Statute of Westminster in 1931, which acknowledged Canada's co-equal status with the United Kingdom. Between the World Wars, Canada was hit particularly hard during the Great Depression of the early 1930s, with unemployment rates reaching 25%, and many men living in unemployment relief camps. During the Second World War, over 1.1 million Canadians served in that brutal conflict that left nearly 100,000 of them dead or wounded. In 1949, Newfoundland became the last Canadian province to incorporate. In 1965, Canada adopted its current flag. Here's a selection of some of the other national flags that were proposed.
Oh shit, so these are the other ones that are proposed. This is pretty cool. Although, where does the blue come from? This one's interesting. Can you even see it? You can't. Let me move my webcam. For those of you who can't see it, or who haven't seen it before. I mean, I actually think they picked the best one. I'll be honest. I do think they picked the best one from these options. I like this one quite a bit. Obviously, it's got a British flag and stuff. That's not even why, but I just like the leaf. It looks quite cool. But this is definitely the best one. I'll be honest. So they done good there. For sure.
Of which one do you think looks best? In 1982, the Canada Act passed the Parliament of the United Kingdom and was ratified by the Queen, granting Canada the right to create their own constitution, which they promptly did. Still recognizing the constitutional monarchy in a mostly ceremonial rule, the new constitution abolished the British Parliament's remnants of influence over Canada. Canada is now a nation of over 36 million people, where over 20% speak French as a first language.
20%? I knew it was high, but 20% is really high. Obviously, so the Quebec area is I don't know how many English speaking people live here, or English speaking people with English as their first language. But I know Quebec is the very, very French heavy province. I don't know about Newfoundland. I assume it would be as well because it's next to it, but I don't actually know.
It's the 10th largest economy in the world. The province of Quebec has maintained a strong French influence over the centuries, and has on 2 occasions voted in referendums to decide whether Quebec should proclaim national sovereignty and become an independent country. In 1995, it very near...
Oh shit, it's close. So I guess they don't get on with each other then, maybe. Right or not? I don't know, let me know.
Really did not pass, with secession still being an issue till this day. This has been Epimetheus. Let me know what you think down in the comments.
Wow.
What Canadian province is your favorite to visit or live in? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notifications every time I make a new video. And big thanks to my supporters over on Patreon.
Interesting video, man. Quebec, though. God damn. So it's looking like they could actually leave. The English and French did not coexist peacefully. That's a great summary of the 90% of Anglo-French relations. Welcome to Canada, where many lives were once lost in the Beaver Wars, and a department store once owned half of our country's territory. Canadians still call it the 7 Years' War, as do the Europeans. Literally, only the USA refers to it as the French and Indian War. 8 years of history classes, this video was just as effective. Yep, I mean, I learned more in this video than I've ever learned before about Canada, so yeah, I agree with that. But I hope you enjoyed this reaction. If you want more of these historical reactions on different countries, more reactions to do with Canada, suggest it in the comments and I'll try and do so if there's enough interest and stuff. But yeah, I always enjoy these historical reviews of how countries came to sort of form and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, like I said, let me know in the comments what you want to see in future. And yeah, until next time, like, subscribe, and peace.